You are now listening to the Artist King podcast, featuring interviews with professional artists, entrepreneurs, and art business educators. Artist King's mission is to fuel the passion and build the business knowledge of the artists to further their success in the art industry. We want to hear your suggestions and comments and subject ideas to discuss in future podcasts. Please send an email to podcast@artistking.org.
My name is Daniel Flores, aka DTM, the Creative Genius, and I will be your host. In this edition of the Artist King podcast, we interview the creative Kat Goduco, photographer and poet by day. On a mission to celebrate expression, Kat has artistically captured images for various industries, including sports, entertainment, social service, food and beverage, and print, to name a few. I had the pleasure of interviewing Kat during one of those rare moments of calm. How you doing, Kat?
I am excellent. How are you?
Always good. I'm glad to have you. Please tell us your name, your artist name, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Kat Goduco. I'm from the D.C. area, particularly Maryland, and I am a professional photographer.
And what is a professional photographer?
It's one that gets paid for what they do. Now, I guess a professional photographer is, just someone who gets to appreciate their craft in taking photos, capturing moments, while making a living out of it.
Okay.
So.
Very nice. And what kind of moments do you capture?
Well, I like to say, excitement can't be photoshopped. So
So you can't fake it, huh? You can't
fake it, but I can't take credit for that statement. The artist W, who's also my boyfriend, he came up with that one for me.
Oh, nice.
But usually, I guess, clients say they like to hire me for my timing and my candids. So.
And so, like, what are the jobs? Well, does that mean you like photographing people?
Yes, people. I specialize in people. I like taking pictures of those moments when they don't realize I'm there, just to get a good feel of the environment that I'm at or we're at. So.
And so, like, what are some of the things? Weddings or parties or?
I actually don't shoot weddings. Let me change that. I shoot weddings on request. What I typically shoot are corporate events, concerts, things that involve the community. Editorial portraits, stuff like that.
And so when you're hired for these things, are there for images for publications or magazines, books?
That's interesting. It depends on the client. So sometimes I might shoot something for an agency, similar to like the Associated Press, where that goes out to mass publications. Other stuff are for particular companies, internal use or internet promotions, stuff like that.
Got it. Right.
So, I mean, actually, right now, before I met with you, I just finished shooting a reception for Jason Carter, who's the guy running for governor.
Okay.
Right now.
Wow.
So I just zoomed over here. Made sure we were here on time.
So who hired you for that? The campaign?
Actually, a private group.
Okay.
Of a private group of gentlemen who were throwing a reception for him.
Got it. And you were so Jason Carter. Jason Carter, he was there, and you took pictures of him.
Yeah, I mean, he was there. It was a small. I call it reception. It's actually like a fundraiser.
I gotcha.
And it was a pretty intimate group. I'd say about 20 people.
So tell me about growing up in Maryland and D.C.
Yes.
What was it that first caught your eye with the camera and photography in general?
Well, actually, when I was growing up, I was heavily involved in sports.
Okay.
Actually, not so much photography. I did have a knack. I had like every type of, point and shoot camera you'd have, remember, with film and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I did was, I would take pictures of like things I would like, just as an outlet. I never really thought I would use it for work.
Right.
In college, same thing. I didn't start getting reacclimated or serious with photography till I would say till I actually moved to Atlanta.
And when was that?
2000. Well, I moved here 2004, but I would say about 2007. I started like I just needed an outlet, and I would just take pictures, shoot some stuff for some friends, and at the time I was working for the Atlanta Hawks, so then I was throwing some shows, throwing some individual, photo exhibitions, just for me, not like anything similar to work.
So these exhibitions and shows that were like some of your favorite pictures, something that you found that you really wanted others to see?
True, yes. See, back then I was partnered with locally Adidas Originals. Remember the Originals store over in Lenox? So, like, I had these themes in my head. My very first show was actually with New Era.
Okay.
And it was called, oh my goodness, Vice versus Virtue.
Okay.
I like
that name.
Well,
That's very cool. Okay.
I like to take themes with like a religious, I wouldn't say religious, I'd say, actually it is religious.
Moral?
Well, it's interesting. It with like some kind of moral feel to it, but kind of make it my own. So Vice versus Virtue was a show about the 7 virtues and the 7 deadly sins,
right?
But more contemporary. So I had that in my head, and I was like, okay, let's do this. The second one was The Rules of Life, which was a thing about the 10 Commandments, a show about the 10 Commandments, but more like what we would see as the 10 Commandments, like right now. Like, for instance, the Sabbath I did as football here in Georgia.
Right.
Like on Sundays, football, or even Saturdays, people take that as like, religion. So I kind of took themes like that and meshed it together.
So your passion for photography really took off when you came to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But then growing up, what was your passion?
Sports.
So you were
I was
on the field playing some kind of sport?
I was playing basketball and volleyball.
Okay.
I always thought I would play some type of sport, either one of the two. But my junior year of high school, I tore my left ACL. My senior year, I tore my right.
Oh.
So, needless to say, that was kind of a dark time for me, because I was like, oh my God, I've been playing for like 10 years. What am I going to do with myself? And the challenge is that I realized that I'm more than just sports.
Yes.
And we are more than what we think we are. And sometimes it just takes something drastic for people to realize that you have other parts of you that are just as strong as what you think is your strengths.
Right. You are more than the one thing you know how to do right now.
Exactly. And it took that to realize.
So what brought you to Atlanta?
Well, that's interesting too.
I'm in all the interesting questions. All right.
Okay. At the time, I was living in Burlington, Vermont.
Okay.
In 2003, I was working for Clear Channel. So I had seen, I always thought, since I was into sports, I've always wanted to work for a sports team.
Okay.
Well, they had, the NBA had this invite-only job fair, right? And in the job fair, it says you have to like fill out this application, describe why you should be invited, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, I'm telling them reasons. They wrote me back. They're like, you're invited. I was like, yes. Okay. Next day, they wrote me another letter. They're like, you're not invited.
What? What?
I was like, What?
Uh-huh.
You just invited me. How are you disinviting me?
Uh-huh.
Basically, their letter said that whatever the position I was applying for, because you had to choose what you wanted to, get out of it, was no longer available.
Whoa. Just like that.
Just like that. So I wrote them back. It was like literally one of those letters that's like, sorry, you're not invited. Thank you for applying. So I wrote them back. I'm like, hey, I can't remember exactly the words, but I was like, hey, look, I applied for this, and I really think you'd be missing out on a really good candidate if you disinvite me. I am open to coming, and I'd really like to meet you guys. And then they wrote back a couple hours later, okay, you're invited again. I'm like, what? Who is running this? But I was just like, okay. So I went down to the job fair. Now, this job fair was like nothing like I've ever been to. It was really intense. It was like a 2-day job fair where all 30 teams from the NBA are there, and you have like 100, maybe 50 candidates from all over the country, and some with sports experience, some without, some college students. And the first day was kind of like networking, and then you just introduce yourself to some of the teams, the representatives of teams. Then you role play. Then you have to go on an interview. And then by the second day, they're going to put a list of, they have this big whiteboard, and they put your name and then what teams have job offers for you.
Wow.
And then you have to make a decision within 5 minutes whether or not you get accepted. And at the time, I got a job offer from Seattle, Golden State, and Atlanta.
Wow.
Now, I mean, mind you, I had a job in Vermont. And they're like, hey, so you want the job? I was like, yeah, I want the job. Well, you have 5 minutes. I tried to call my mom. I tried to call my boyfriend at the time.
You have 5 minutes to accept their terms or something? The deal that they're offering you for this job? Okay.
Yes. So if I was like, if you were Atlanta, Dan, and I was like, hey, I'd really like to consider your job. Can you give me some time to think about it? They were like, sure. 5 minutes. So I called my mom. I called my boyfriend at the time, but no one was answering the phone. I was like, are you kidding me? So I'm sitting there, I was like, okay, I'm so East Coast, I'm going to choose Atlanta.
Okay.
Never knew that I was going to live in the South. Always thought I'd stay Northeast. And that's what brought me to Atlanta.
Wow, so the Hawks hired you?
The Hawks hired me, and I was with them for about five plus years.
What? And so what was the job? What did you do?
Well, that's another thing. I had 5 promotions in 5 years. Okay. I started off in sales, and then I ended up handling youth marketing and fan development for them.
Okay.
So that was really fun, getting to develop programs where it involves kids from, little like kindergartners all the way up to college students, and how they can kind of be entangled with the team somehow.
And you were you there during those half times when they bring those kids into half court and do certain things or little ceremonies and things like that?
Yeah.
Is that something related?
It's related, but it's more like I what's the word I was thinking of? I kind of revamped the kids clubs. I helped out with the college programs, and I also was in charge of like all-star balloting. Oh, okay. At the time, there were 2 teams. There was the Hawks and the Thrashers. Oh, okay. So we had some of my responsibilities included both teams. And
that was Phillips Arena.
That was Phillips Arena, yes.
Yes, long gone. Is it? No, the Phillips Arena is here now.
No, Phillips Arena is here. The
what
Thrashers.
Was before?
The Omni.
Omni. I was thinking about the Omni. Sorry.
Omni.
That's gone. All right.
Yeah.
And the Thrashers are gone.
Yeah, I know, right?
But the Hawks are here.
The Hawks are here. You know what? I'm so proud of those guys.
Very cool.
That's really cool.
So then all this time growing up, you've owned cameras. You've been taking pictures.
Yeah.
And then at some point you felt that you had to release, and you had some creativity that you wanted to release with photography.
Yes. So, put it this way: I'm a pretty spiritual person. right?
Okay.
Not saying I go to church every day or whatever, or every Sunday, but I do believe in an entity out there, and I like to think that I'm led in that direction, right? When I was working for the Hawks, it was great. I loved it, couldn't have asked for a better experience. Thing is, somewhere inside, I felt kind of empty. And I really don't know what that means, but when I was young, I always felt like I'm supposed to do something that would be a little more impactful than just, having a day-to-day job. And that feeling hit me again around my 5th year with the Hawks. And I remember it was a Saturday, right?
You remember?
I remember, because it's, you know what? I remember the exact, what happened. It was Saturday, and I was like, oh my God, hey, I can't shake this feeling. So I drove and went to a church. I don't even know what this church was. I sat in front of the steps, and I was like, dude, give me some dumb, obvious signs, because I suck at guessing. And, I had faith that it would come, the answers would come eventually. What I didn't count on was that it would come so quickly. I got sign after sign after sign, after I asked for it. So that was a Saturday, right there.
All right, Saturday.
That Monday, I put my 2 weeks in. I did not have a plan. I did not have any money saved up. But the signs led me to do what I am now, do what I'm doing now. And even in that decision, it was probably to this day probably the clearest decision I've ever made in my life. I mean, people were pulling me aside. They're like, hey, are you okay? Is your family sick? Are you sick? Why are you quitting? I'm like, don't worry. This is what I'm supposed to do. So fast forward, it's 5 years later. My 5-year anniversary full-time was May.
Oh, wow.
So I've now been full-time photography and proprietor for 5 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big milestone.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it in between. I was don't get it twisted. There has been a lot of, ups and downs as in anything. But what I come to realize is making the gaps smaller. You're always going to have,
peaks and valleys.
Yeah, peaks and valleys. But as long as you can make the peaks and valleys, shorter as opposed to longer, then you're straight.
So you quit your job and you know you want to do something. The signs tell you to do what besides quitting?
No, what the signs actually told me was, it didn't say quit your job. What it said was, how do I put this? Focus on what you can make beautiful. So that's what I did. In order to focus on what I can make beautiful, I had to let go of something.
Sure.
It doesn't say step 1.
Right.
No, it was just hey, this is what you're interested in. This is what can happen. This is the focus you might want to take. It's up to me to interpret, how to make that happen. And what I interpreted from it is I have to quit my job. Because there's no way to put 100% focus if half your attention is somewhere else.
Right, and you spend a lot of time at a job.
Exactly.
A lot of time. It takes you a lot out of you.
Yes.
And so photography, I'm still waiting to hear that moment when you say photography is it.
But I believe that life isn't about one moment. It was
building up.
It builds up, maybe I saw you 5 years ago and you were looking in your wife's eyes and I was like, oh wow, that's an awesome moment to capture. Or maybe I saw somebody really pouring their heart out in a show. That's another moment. It's just a culmination of all the pretty things you can capture and share with everyone else.
Artist King programming is made possible by Lucom.com, VelocityScreenprint.net, Finest Art Store, the law offices of Deborah Gonzalez Esquire, Burnaway, C4 Atlanta, WonderRoot, Atlanta Tech Village, and listeners like you.
Do the offers for photography come in, or do you start looking, you start applying?
Business practice. Okay. Here's I went to school at Drexel University in Philadelphia for marketing and international business. Okay. That was my major. So actually what I enjoy is business.
Okay.
I guess my strategy was, at the time when I first started, was to just let everyone know that everyone in my network know what I just did and know what I'm trying to do. I believe in asking for what you want, because the worst thing that could happen is that they could say no, but you would already had no anyway if you didn't ask.
You didn't have anything before you asked. So
exactly. So it's kind of like, what do I have to lose? And even right now, I still try to keep that mentality in mind, because just because my business is better 5 years later doesn't mean I should ever lose the hustle.
Right.
Because it's when you're doing good that you should still keep working at it. I really don't think there is rest unless you make time for it.
Right.
Yeah. So just I used all my resources that I could think of. I asked people. I looked on the internet. Even Craigslist. Like, Craigslist has some interesting gigs, but you gotta read for it. You gotta look for it. But also another strategy that I did was I wrote down, what I wanted to shoot. Mm-hmm. Because if I wrote down what I wanted to shoot, then I could kind of help it come to life. I could always remember that, okay, if someone here is asking me to do a job, but it's not in line with what I'm doing, then I shouldn't take it. A lot of people ask me to do weddings.
Right.
I actually do it on request, unless you're a really good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. It's very, very rare that I do weddings, and by keeping that strategy, I was able to keep my brand solid. Uh-huh. So that's one thing. That's one thing I always thought of, and my mom always said, never chase the money, let the money chase you.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So I'm never really been money motivated.
And that's tough.
It is. It's one of the toughest things, but you know what? It might be more work on the front end, but it's less work on the back end.
Mm-hmm. And you end up doing the work you enjoy.
Yes. And I mean, I don't always enjoy it 24/7 because it's work. As an entrepreneur or self-employed, you work more hours, and you know this. You work more hours than if you were going to an office.
Yes.
But the difference is, I get to hang out with you.
Yeah, anytime you want, right?
Anytime I want.
There is a saying that says an entrepreneur works 80 hours, so they don't have to work 40 hours for somebody else.
True. Mm-hmm. Yes. I think it's 100.
Yeah, it's 100. Yeah,
like 100 hours.
Yeah, it's tough. But that's the thing. Following your passion, and then knowing that somebody's making money doing that.
Right.
So if they can make money and they have a process in a business, so can you.
Exactly. But my aunt, she also told me something really really interesting when I was before I went into photography. She said, if you want to make money in this world, she said, having a specialty is the way to go. And I didn't understand what that meant, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't understand, because she said that having a specialty is important, because I'm like, no, but I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. But as I come to understand, as the business grows, my specialty is what makes me money.
Right.
My specialty is what people hire me for. So I see what she's saying now. Mm-hmm. It only took 10 years.
Well, that's maturity. You have to mature to that point to understand
I guess
certain
so.
things. Yeah, you have to live your life and see those changes and the decisions that you make.
Yeah.
And then things start to click.
It just, I mean, it's funny. Like, I understand how to use credit cards now.
What?
No, it's just, well, I mean, I'm not joking, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, that's
it.
That's
So
it in a nutshell.
So the you did a couple of shows, and one I didn't get to make it by. But what are some of the themes that you do in your shows? You said spirituality was one of them.
Yes, but my most popular one, and probably my favorite one, is called Mistaken Identity. Everyday people get mistaken for celebrities.
Okay.
So I, like I said, I finished my third round last year, and this fourth round I'm starting to shoot now. So it's really cool. People like it because sometimes they're like, oh yeah, sometimes people think I look like Tila Tequila, or sometimes I look like Robin Thicke. Not me, but and if I see it, or if I think it fits like the group of people that I want to showcase, then I go ahead and shoot them. So last year, the last one I did was up at Ponce City Market. It was in conjunction with Councilman Kwanzaa Hall, the District 2, and this awesome nonprofit organization called Operation Peace.
Okay.
They said with the event we were able to raise enough money for five kids to go to summer camp.
Okay.
So I think that's really cool. I'm big on showing kids different experiences so they can understand what they might want to do in the future. So that's something that I liked. And then this fourth one, I don't know where it's going to be at, but some of the people I'm going to have in it are a guy that looks like Steve Carell.
Okay.
A guy that looks like Leon. Do you know who Leon is? He was in 5 Heartbeats. He was in one of Madonna's videos.
Okay.
And then a guy that looks like Billy Bob Thornton so far. I mean, I have a couple.
Really,
people.
You got somebody who looks like Billy Bob?
Yes, he favors Billy Bob Thornton. It was hard at first, but I could see it.
Okay. So do you what are you gonna dress him up and put him in a situation or setting?
It's more portrait style, right? So how it's usually set up is you're gonna have you're gonna see the picture that I took, and then you're gonna see a reference photo.
Okay.
So you can see where I was getting my reference from.
Okay.
And I don't have to do much for some of these people, but yes,
they're there.
Well, there was one girl last year. She looked like Jennifer Aniston. Like, I didn't see it until she told me. I'm like, oh my god, you look like her. But that show all started because a friend of mine looked like Tila Tequila.
Oh, okay.
Everywhere we went, she was getting pulled aside.
Really?
Like, can I get your autograph? Can I get your autograph? I mean, in theory, she does look like Tila Tequila. I wouldn't say that in front of her, though. She hates it. But she was my inspiration for the show.
Yeah. If I look like anybody, I have to start charging $5.
Who do you look like, Dad?
No, if I did, I don't know. I don't think I look like anybody.
Do you get mistaken for anyone?
No, but you know when? Well, a long time ago, this is crazy. So there is a rapper called 2Mix.
Yeah,
and
2Mix.
so when he's losing a lot of weight now, but when he was real chubby, and maybe about 10 years ago, people used to say that.
I'm gonna look 2Mix up
2Mix,
right now.
yeah. And then a long time ago, I mean, when I was young, 20 years ago, in the early days when I was in Atlanta,
Okay.
they told me, who is that? Mac 10.
Mac 10.
But it was dark in the club, and I had a Scully on, and I always had my beard, and that's what they said. People came up to me and they said something to me as if I was Mac 10, and I just said okay, and I said okay. I agreed, and I was nice to them, and they walked off. I was like, what the? They really think I'm Mac 10?
Hold on.
Because I'm a big guy, big Mexican. You don't usually see Mexicans my size, but yeah.
Oh my god.
I was thinner too.
Recently, off topic, I saw a picture of you on Doug's bike, Mm-hmm. Back in the day. I was like, is that Dan?
Yeah. So that was my bike. He has his own bikes, but I had my bike at that time.
Okay, I couldn't even remember. It was like a picture of like a lowrider.
It's a lowrider bike, all chromed out. My brother gave it to me for my birthday many years ago. Mm-hmm. I gave it back to him.
Why?
Because he has lots of kids.
Oh, so they can play with it?
Here, somebody will take care of this bike. But yeah,
it was a nice bike.
It was very nice, yeah. And I actually rode it. You can ride it. It's kind of tough riding those little lowriders, but yeah. Yeah, but that was it. I think that's about all I can think of.
Mac 10.
Mm-hmm. And then Kid Frost. But he's Mexican anyway, so.
You said he's Mexican.
He's Mexican, so we Mexicans. And that's all. I can't think of anybody else.
Dan, you're
when I was a kid, I used to wear my hair like Eric Estrada because I used to like chips. But I was a kid and I had more hair. I could fashion it the way he did.
I like Eric Estrada.
Yeah, he was a cool dude. Yeah. We're all old now, but yeah.
Oh my God.
So one last question.
Absolutely. Whatever you need.
Schooling. How did you learn or figure out not just the technical stuff, but also what you see behind the lens?
Great question. In learning, I'm still continuing to learn every day, right? Mm-hmm. But most of my training comes from other photographers that are more skilled than I am. Mm-hmm. Even in business practice, also, I try to learn from people who I know that are better than me in certain areas, so that I can help strengthen my own weaknesses. Like, what I thought that was better was composition. Like, I felt like I had a good grasp on what I like to see, right? But sometimes in photography, that's not enough. You can see something nice, but what happens when, just as an example, it's too dark, or there's too much sun, or people are moving? That's when the technical comes into play. And I think I learned that from a mixture of continuously shooting in different environments and, like I said, learning from others and asking questions. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. I believe that, and I'm open to people also asking me, hey, how do you do this? Or, when you're in this situation, what's the best solution for you? Mm-hmm. I mean, I ask those questions and I get those questions back, and that's the way that people can continuously learn. I know I'm not going to learn everything all at once, and I'm probably going to keep learning till whenever this ride is over. Right. But just being open to new ideas, and even people's perspectives help. So
I will search for more learning.
So you will search for more learning.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's been my way. I never went to school for art.
Me neither.
I took one art class in high school. I almost failed it, and I didn't know you could get paid as an artist. I didn't know you could choose to be an artist and make a living. I didn't know that. I didn't think about that growing up, and but I always search for people that could show me something.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's funny that you said that, because I didn't know artists could make money either. Mm-hmm. Or not just make money, but make a living where you can pay your bills and support yourself and your family. Until I got here, met people like yourself, and been surrounded by working artists. Yeah, there are a community of working artists, and I'll tell you one commonality between everybody that I feel are working artists is work never stops.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody is always open to learning more information. And I love seeing that. I love seeing the people that I know continuously hit personal milestones. Yeah. Because that's really cool. That gives people who are starting out more opportunity or more fuel to ignite their own passions. So I think that's really cool. I love seeing what you're doing, Dan.
Thank you.
geez, Dan's throwing so much things.
I think of a lot of stuff. I'm creative in ways that I just feel like I just want to get it out. I want to try it out. Like this comic book thing, I want to do it.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but what you just said is exactly... One thing I didn't say was, just do it. Mm-hmm. You never know unless you try.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Don't let what if hold you back. Just do it.
Just get out there.
Do something until it sticks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in my case, I like doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
I like doing different things, and different years I tried different stuff, and people getting used to that I have an event or some kind of workshop, and when they don't make it to one, they always ask me when's the next one.
Right.
So it's like, okay, well, as long as people still want it, then it's something that has benefits and there's a use for it, and that's how we feel about Artist King. Is like we want to share the knowledge and some of the lessons that we learned, and maybe the listeners can take that and apply it for themselves. But at the same time, maybe those who are on the fence about it may get inspired to try it out.
Exactly. Also, another thing that I realized with like the community of artists is that not everything's gonna work, right?
Right.
But something will work.
Yes.
And just keeping that in mind, just because one thing doesn't work doesn't mean the next isn't.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so just keep trying. I think that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to get discouraged. Sometimes you just want to whew.
Yeah.
There are times, I tell you, there are times when you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And then it just hits you.
Yeah.
So that's what I enjoy.
All right. So if people want to pay you to shoot the things that you like to shoot, where did they reach you online?
They can reach me at www.katgoduco.com.
Okay.
That is KatGoduco.com.
Perfect. Do you have an Instagram or Twitter?
My name is... I'm pretty standardized. Yeah. So everything is at Kat Goduco.
Are there any other Kat Goducos in this world that you
I am
come across?
the only one in the world so far. So I'm really excited. There's like a Catherine somewhere, or Katie, I can't remember her name, but I have Kat Goduco.
There you go.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Kat, for spending the moment with us.
Thank you, Dan. I love Artist King, and I wish you the best, and I will continue to support whatever you do.
If you're enjoying the Artist King podcast, then please consider leaving a shout out on iTunes, Spreaker.com, or StitchRadio.com under Artist King. For more information on the subjects discussed in the Artist King podcast, please visit www.artistking.org.
This has been an Artist King presentation, and I am your host, DTM. Thank you for listening, and see you next week.